This is Learn from Others, where we interview a cross-section of successful individuals so you can learn from their experiences, achievements, and even their mistakes. We ask 4 questions that will educate and inspire. Greg Stanley will be your guide as we join our guest on a journey from adolescent daydreaming to success in today's world. Join us on this adventure as we learn from others together.
Welcome to Learn from Others. This is Greg Stanley, and I'm very excited to introduce our special guest, Tom Darrow. Tom, thank you for taking us on your career journey today. But before we find out what you are doing today, let's start at the very beginning. And can you tell us, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I guess you're assuming that I've grown up, huh, Greg?
That's a big assumption, if you know Tom.
Yeah, well, I think originally I wanted to be a golf pro, but there was one thing that slowed me down, and it was my golf game. but yeah, probably a golf pro.
Well, you're a pretty good golfer. The 1 or 2 times I've played with you. So,
yeah.
Well, what was your first?
I had my moment.
Yeah, what was your first real job? Like when you actually got a paycheck for?
Well, I don't know if I call it paycheck. I mean, the first job was mowing lawns back as a kid. I remember, in fact, there was a certain set of golf clubs that I wanted to buy, and I don't remember how much it was, probably a couple $100, and so I had to mow lawns to save the money to buy my first set of golf clubs. And yeah, and I think that taught me the value of showing up and working hard and pleasing the customer and all those things, and then getting paid fairly for what I did. So it's kind of a microcosm of the bigger picture. So I think that's a good way to start off your career, is by doing something that has all the elements of kind of supply and demand and customer service and all those things.
Yeah, you saw what you wanted and you figured out a way to go after it and get it. That's great.
That's right.
Do you recall your first job you actually got paid to do? Did you ever work at Taco Bell or?
Never worked at Taco Bell, but love Taco Bell.
Did you too?
But yeah, my first job, I guess, really was the job that I had during the summers in college. It was working for a knitting company, and I worked to get an extra quarter per hour. I worked the night shift, and the company made sweaters for Oshkosh B'gosh.
Wow, I didn't realize there was a night shift for a knitting company. All right.
There is, yes. And I worked the steam press, which was pretty hot. That was another reason to work the night shift, was it was cooler at night. But yeah, I did that for, I guess, 4 summers, 3 or 4 summers during college.
So it was a steam press just to do the mass ironing before they packaged them up and shipped them out?
Not exactly. It was actually part of the process where after the sweaters came off the machines, then we would steam them to actually stretch them out a little bit to give them room to sew them together, sew the front and the back together, and sew the sleeves on. And then when they were done with that, we would steam them again to sort of put them back into shape. So yeah, you had to put them on the steam press, press a button with or kind of a pedal with your foot to put steam through it, and then you pressed another pedal to kind of suck the steam out. And so yeah, it wasn't only hot, but you were literally like putting steam up into your face nonstop. So it was, yeah.
You got a nice facial. Yeah, you got a nice facial there as a job perk.
That's right.
What did this job shape or change your future goals for employment?
I think so. I think it taught me that I wanted a college education and didn't want to do that the rest of my life. And but again, I think it taught me the values of hard work. And in fact, they paid by the hour the first 3 summers, but then the last summer they actually changed their compensation model where they paid by production. And so then I was like incented to really work hard, which I did, and I actually outproduced by 2 or 3 times the people that work there year round. And
wow.
Unfortunately, because of that, some of them didn't like me because I was showing them up a little bit. I wasn't trying to show them up. I just wanted to make as much money as I could. And being a high school kid, I was in good shape and I was able to really crank. And so I made some good money that summer.
Now, did you have a favorite subject or hobby in school? Obviously, I think golf would be one of them.
Well, I guess my favorite subject at the time was business or accounting, since I was an accounting major. But yeah, did a lot of charity work and did some student leadership things. Played some golf. It was always busy, always doing something.
Okay, so now we know how you got started with, I never knew that about you, working at Oshkosh B'gosh from the steam room. That's interesting. So what do you do today? And can you give us a little bit overview of your job, company, responsibilities, and the end product some of our listeners may be familiar with?
Absolutely. So I've actually got two companies. One of them, Talent Connections, is going to be 20 years old next year, and what we're known for is doing executive search in human resources. And what that means is that if a company needs a new HR leader, whether it's like the head of HR or head of recruiting or head of compensation or a senior level role like that, they would call us and we could conduct a search for them to help them find the best person for the job. The other company is called Career Spa, and Career Spa is all about career management. And so we work with people who are unemployed or misemployed and teach them how to manage their career. How do you really identify what the dream job is, and then how do you figure out where you are, and how do you get from where you are to where you want to be?
Right, and that sounds like that's everything from someone who wants to rejuvenate their career to someone who maybe gotten displaced with around the layoffs, correct?
That's it. Either way, really anybody. And I mean, if somebody feels like they're absolutely right in their sweet spot, well, yeah, I'm not sure we can do much for them. But they say 84% of all people are misemployed, so they're employed, they just don't have a job they want. And then, any given time, there are probably 5 to 10% of people who are unemployed. So if you do the math, I mean, we're talking probably right around 90% of all people are not in the job they want.
Right.
And so that's a problem, and we're out to help solve the problem.
Now, what past roles, jobs, or experiences have you experienced in the past that helped you succeed in the role you have now? Because I know you've worked for a couple different companies in the past.
Yeah, I think a couple things. One is just being in HR, being in recruiting. It really helps on both sides. Obviously, we do recruiting at Talent Connections, so that's a direct line, comparable thing. And then with the career management coaching, I've always felt like the people who know best how to coach people on their job changes are recruiters. Recruiters deal with resumes every day and networking and interviewing and elevator pitches, and so they know what's effective when it comes to those things. So we coach a lot of folks and have seen them blossom, and that's always encouraging. And so I know that our expertise can really help a lot of folks.
Now, I know you're very active in a lot of different forums, giving speeches, traveling around. But if you could, tell us what your typical day is like.
Well, that's the old answer. There is no typical day. But, probably today is a good example, though. I had a 7 o'clock breakfast. I had a 8 o'clock coffee. Then I had some calls. Had a lunch meeting. Got some more calls. So, it's a lot of meeting with people, talking on the phone, talking to my team. So, always have many balls in the air, but I like it that way. And, we're involved in a lot of different things. So just trying to move the needle and keep everything going.
Right. Okay. Well, what would you say is one of the most challenging aspects of your job, as well as the most rewarding aspect of your job?
Well, they're probably the same. The most challenging is, working with people, because people have expectations. They have high expectations. I mean, our clients pay, pretty good money to have us help them, and so obviously they have high expectations, and rightfully so. And so meeting and exceeding our clients' expectations is paramount. So that's a challenge, but it's also very rewarding because we often do that. And so, when we're able to look back and see all the people that we've helped and people that we've placed in jobs that are still there, and have been there for many years, having a huge impact, it's very rewarding, especially in HR, because when you place HR leaders and they, help the company strategically for many years, well, that's really high impact. And so even though we're not the ones there doing the job, we certainly have a big hand in helping the company secure the right leader.
Right. I can see that as being very impactful. Well, before we move on to our next question, let's take a moment and hear from our sponsors. Do you enjoy your job and find it fulfilling? Or do you spend more time wondering what if instead of what's next? If so, contact Career Spa. Career Spa has extensive programs and curriculum and understands the challenges faced by individuals in transition. They can teach these success practices to be mastered for an effective job search. Answer that what-if question by contacting Career Spa and asking their experts, what's next? Contact Career Spa at careerspa.net. Talent acquisition is key to building a successful organization. Talent Connections is a professional services firm that specializes in recruiting, including executive search, contract recruiting, talent acquisition consulting, and recruitment process outsourcing. Whether you are an individual or a Fortune 100 company, Talent Connections can connect you with success. Contact them at talentconnections.net. So welcome back. We obviously learned what you are doing today. So looking back, if you could do something differently, what would you do?
Well, I think I would have gotten more assessments, more input in terms of my ultimate career direction and passion earlier on. You know, I think like many people, I went through high school and was good in math, and I took a couple accounting courses and business courses in high school and was good with those. So I went off to college to be an accountant, and then after that got a job as an auditor and realized I didn't like it, right? And it wasn't the right career for me. And so not that I wasted all those years, but certainly didn't optimize them either. And so I guess I wish I would have been able to really identify what my true passion and calling was earlier.
Yeah, and I guess that's where your business really fits in the wheelhouse for some people. You know, some folks that might not know what they want to do, or, they're not perfectly placed. Giving you guys a call would help them figure that part out. So sometimes I think that's one of the biggest jumps, because you're looking at, all right, if I do this jump, am I really going to do this huge change in my life? Even though it's for the best, there's a level of fear, I'm sure, with anyone that's looking at that kind of life-changing decision, even if it's, the rewards could be great.
Oh, absolutely. And the problem is none of us have a crystal ball. So a lot of times it looks like the rewards will be great, but usually with great rewards come great sacrifice and investment too. And so it's always kind of scary to make the leap and make the investment and the sacrifice, to some degree, hoping that it really does come through. But that's part of the career journey.
Yep, absolutely. Well, this is a little bit more of a difficult question. Originally, it would be if someone in our audience would like to be a HR recruiter, what advice would you give them? What's the typical career path? But since you manage multiple companies that are in the HR realm but different goals, how about you just tell me, if there's something advice you would give someone who would like to get into the HR field, maybe as a broader subject matter, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, well, for one, probably can't flip a switch and just suddenly do that. It takes some investment, maybe going back to school and getting an HR degree or getting a certification or, what have you. Also, somebody might need to take a step back in their level and their comp pay, to get into a new area, whether it's HR or anything. I always think that getting on as more of an entry-level person, I think getting on with a big company is oftentimes a good strategy, because first off, they hire more entry-level people, so there's a better shot at getting a job. But secondly, then once you get in, you prove yourself, certainly it's easier to transfer within the company once you're in the company than to try to be an outsider to get a job. So, you can get a job in HR in the company and then move up the ranks pretty quickly based on your accomplishments. As
a follow-up to that, what is the best career advice you've ever received or been given?
I think the best career advice is to secure mentors. For years we heard, get a mentor, but really that's not enough. One person's not enough. One person doesn't have all the competencies and attributes and character traits that you would really aspire to. And so it's great to have mentors so you can really learn from different people who have strengths and character traits in different areas that you want to improve in. So I've just really been blessed to have a lot of different people be mentors. Now, I didn't go to these folks and say, would you be my mentor? They look at you like, oh my goodness, what does that mean?
Right.
But really just, meet with people here and there and get to know them. And as you do, ask them some thoughtful questions about life and about, their career journey and their life journey and marriage journey, whatever it is, and just really learn from some, very wise people out there. And usually the wise people aren't the perfect people, right? They're actually sometimes wiser when they've made some mistakes along the way, and they've learned from them, and now they can maybe help me and help others, stay out of the ditch.
Right, and I think that was a good point about a mentor. Is sometimes it can happen organically, or there's people in your lives you already have that relationship with, you're already seeking advice, there could be an opportunity to dig a little bit deeper or ask a few more questions than you might normally would versus forcing a mentorship kind of on someone. Well, are there any current projects you are working on that you would like to share with our listeners?
Well, several things. I guess just one, though, that I'll share. I just signed on with a ghostwriter to write a book. I've always wanted to write a book, but don't know how and don't have the time, so signed on with a ghostwriter who's going to help. And the book's going to be around encouraging and equipping people to be intentional about what they want their legacy to be, want them to discover it, and then go out and live it, and then obviously at some point leave it. People have a chance in this lifetime to do things that will span beyond their lifetime. And when we think of meaning in life and purpose, and when we think of getting older and looking back, I think a key thing we all are going to ask and wonder is, what have we done, and what have we done that's really going to last? So I'm excited about it.
Now, I know you're early in the process. Any idea on a release date?
It's going to be a while. I know she's going to give me a draft by December. I'm sure there are going to be some edits and some others. We are looking for inspiring stories. So if any of the listeners know of someone that is doing something or has done something that is kind of legacy worthy, if you will, we're looking to highlight stories. And I'm not talking just about, Dr. Martin Luther King and Billy Graham and people like that. I mean, those are awesome legacies for sure. But I'm talking about just the average, Greg and the average Tom and the average Mary who, have done some amazing things. And, real quick, I think of a story of a HR director in Atlanta who was in church one day, and they asked the congregation to pray for somebody in the congregation who needed a kidney transplant. And as she was praying, she felt led to go get tested. And guess what? She tested positive. And she ended up donating a kidney to somebody she didn't even know.
Wow.
I mean, to me, that's incredible, right? And now I'm not saying everybody has to go donate a kidney, but what a great legacy. And I think, we have moments in life where legacy opportunities come along, but sometimes we ignore them or we pass on them for whatever reason. And so I think it's important to get intentional about it, and that's what the book's going to be all about.
Wow, that's exciting. Well, as with most journeys, success largely depends on reliable transportation. And I'm a huge car guy. Would you tell us, what was your first car?
Very first car was a used Saab 900 Turbo.
Oh, that's a nice car.
I loved it, actually, except that it was in the shop about every 3 days.
They're known a little bit for that at times. Was this like a late 70s, like a 78, a 83?
Good question. I think it was about a 1980 something. I bought it in 87, so I think it was about a 1980, but it was in good shape. And they say that when you buy one of those and it's in the shop all the time, it's a true sob story, right? Fortunately, that was the joke with that car.
Right.
I lived it.
Right. Well, what is your dream car?
My dream car. Wow. Well, probably right now it would be a Porsche Macan.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was going to say that. That's a great SUV. I mean, that thing is fast as a 911, yet it can hold 4 people comfortably. So.
Yeah, there's only one challenge with it. It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Well,
yeah. Well, one great perk to some jobs is having a company car. So if I had all the money in the world, I would like to buy you a cool company car. And now, you know me, being a car guy, I put a lot of thought and effort into this. So let me tell you where I'm coming from here. I'm thinking for you, and this is more around your job function, you network a lot. You probably need to get to places pretty quick. But I wanted it to be something classic. Now, originally I was going towards your home city of your alma mater. Can you guess who that would have been?
Yes, that would be I'm drawing a blank in it now. I know this. It's a Studebaker.
Studebaker, right? Being a Notre Dame grad, but I skewed away from that because it just wasn't nice enough.
Okay.
Wasn't nice enough. They were the only automobile company to survive transitioning from a horse-drawn wagon to an automobile. So anyways, I kept it in Indiana, though. For you, I picked out a 1934 Duesenberg Model SJ.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So a couple reasons for that. Super fast car, 320 horsepower. It was actually the fastest car in the world at the time. It's gorgeous. It's luxurious. Built in Indianapolis. So I figured that would be a good car for you. Networking, getting around a lot. Some places you could take a whole crew with you. A little expensive as well, but I thought it's better that your HR recruiter has a really nice job versus like your financial advisor. That might throw up some red flags. So I figured Yeah, you usually want your financial advisor to show up like in a Volvo, something safe and sensible. But I thought for you, something a little bit nicer like a Duesenberg. So
Well, thank you. Well, when do I take delivery of this car?
that would be when I can afford it. So just
Okay.
go ahead and hold your breath.
Right.
Well, thank you, Tom, so much for taking us on your career journey today. What's the best way for our listeners to learn more about you or your company?
Yeah, well, they could visit either website, talentconnections.net or careerspa.net. My email is just my full name, Tom Darrow. That's D as in Delta and then Arrow. So Tom Darrow at either talentconnections.net or Tom Darrow at careerspa.net. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Tom.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to Learn from Others, where we help others succeed by sharing success. Where will our next adventure take us? Subscribe to find out. If you know of someone who has a cool career story or occupation, contact Greg through Instagram at Greg Stanley LFO. That's GregStanley LFO. And we will see you soon as we learn from others together.